Considered the spiritual son of Albert Einstein, David Bohm was a renowned physicist who made significant contributions to quantum mechanics and other fields of physics. He was also a deep philosophical thinker who sought to bridge the gap between science and spirituality. Bohm's work on quantum mechanics challenged the conventional view of reality as separate and divided. This view is consistent with many spiritual teachings, which reveal that we are all part of one unified higher consciousness. Oppenheimer once said about this genius, "If we cannot disprove Bohm, then we must agree to ignore him." So, what's it about David Bohm that made him the spiritual son of Einstein and drove Oppenheimer to ostracize him? Welcome to More Than a Label. Let's find out. David Bohm was born into a Jewish family in 1917 in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Growing up during the Great Depression, he faced economic hardships, which shaped his resilient and inquisitive nature. Despite the economic hardships of the era, Bohm's parents recognized his early aptitude for science and provided him with the encouragement and resources needed to nurture his talents. As a young student, Bohm displayed exceptional mathematical and scientific abilities, which eventually led him to pursue higher education. He attended Pennsylvania State College for his undergraduate studies, where he honed his skills and began to delve into the world of theoretical physics. His formative years at the university laid the foundation for his lifelong dedication to unraveling the mysteries of the universe. The challenges he faced during the Great Depression served as a backdrop to his academic journey, instilling in him a strong work ethic and an unquenchable curiosity about the natural world. These early experiences influenced his later work, driving him to explore complex ideas in physics and spirituality, as well as to bridge the gap between these two seemingly disparate realms. Bohm's early career was marked by significant accomplishments. He authored a well-received textbook on quantum mechanics, demonstrating his profound understanding of the field. Moreover, he delved into the behavior of gas plasmas, pioneering groundbreaking research in this domain. His brilliance and insight were acknowledged by none other than Albert Einstein, who affectionately referred to him as his spiritual son, and even expressed a desire to have Bohm as his assistant. However, two pivotal events dramatically altered the course of Bohm's life and career. The first of these was set against the backdrop of the McCarthy hearings, a turbulent period in American history marked by anti-communism. Bohm found himself targeted due to a brief, somewhat idealistic membership in the Communist Party, which he had joined with the hope of engaging in discussions about the philosophy of Hegel. But he was disappointed, so he didn't stay for too long. When summoned before the Congressional Committee, he chose to protect the identities of his former associates and was subsequently arrested for contempt of Congress. Although eventually released without formal charges, he paid a significant price, losing his job and ultimately being compelled to leave the United States. His quest for meaningful work and academic pursuits led him to embark on a journey that took him from Brazil to Israel and the United Kingdom. In the UK, he found academic homes at institutions like Bristol University and, in the years leading up to his passing in 1992, at Birkbeck College in London. The second pivotal event revolved around Bohm's publication of a seminal paper while in Brazil titled "A Suggested Interpretation of Quantum Mechanics in Terms of Hidden Variables." This paper aimed to reframe quantum mechanics and confront the fundamental indeterminacy inherent in Niels Bohr's ideas, which were becoming widely known as the Copenhagen interpretation. But in 1952, it sparked hostility and served to finish him in the eyes of the physics orthodoxy. He sent it for publication, believing that it would act as a shockwave to physicists. Contrary to his expectations, Bohm's paper received no substantial response. It was only years later that he discovered the reason behind this muted reception. J. Robert Oppenheimer, who once was his teacher and mentor, actively vetoed the paper. Given his pivotal role in coordinating the wartime atomic bomb project at Los Alamos, Oppenheimer knew that David Bohm's thesis could not be refuted. Recognizing the absence of a mathematical flaw in Bohm's approach, Oppenheimer issued an instruction to his fellow scientists. If we cannot disprove Bohm, then we must agree to ignore him. This decree effectively marginalized Bohm within major sections of the physics community for the remainder of his life. David Bohm once said, "In scientific research, a great deal of our thinking is in terms of theories. The word theory derives from the Greek theoria, which has the same root as theater, in a word meaning to view or to make a spectacle. Thus, it might be said that a theory is primarily a form of insight, i.e., a way of looking at the world, and not a form of knowledge of how the world is." David Bohm was a deeply spiritual man. For example, his correspondence with Einstein shows clear evidence of seeking spiritual truth through modern physics. Albert Einstein was a colleague and a friend of Bohm. They shared an intellectual kinship and engaged in many discussions about the fundamental nature of the universe. Einstein's emphasis on the importance of philosophical and conceptual clarity in science had a notable impact on Bohm's approach to physics. Their discussions often centered around the deep philosophical and spiritual questions arising from quantum mechanics. Einstein was famously critical of some aspects of quantum mechanics, particularly the probabilistic interpretation of the theory. Einstein once said, "Everyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of the universe, a spirit vastly superior to that of man, and one in the face of which we, with our modest powers, must feel humble." If we didn't know that Einstein is the man behind such words, we would assume that it's the words of a spiritual guru. Such a holistic way of seeing the cosmos is something that both Einstein and Bohm shared. That's why Einstein considered him his spiritual son. Bohm tried to bridge the gap between the spiritual reality and the discoveries of quantum physics, proving that God doesn't play dice with the universe, as Einstein puts it. In a letter to David Bohm, Einstein writes, "I am glad that you are deeply immersed seeking an objective description of the phenomena, and that you feel that the task is much more difficult as you felt hitherto. You should not be depressed by the enormity of the problem. If God has created the world, his primary worry was certainly not to make its understanding easy for us." David Bohm's goal in his pursuit of bridging the gap between science and spirituality is to promote a more integrated and coherent worldview that encompasses both the rational, empirical aspects of science and the subtle, spiritual dimensions of human experience. He believes that the separation of science and spirituality in modern culture has led to fragmentation and incoherence, which, in turn, has contributed to a lack of meaning and purpose in society. Bohm argues that both science and spirituality have their unique contributions to make, and they can complement each other when brought together. He sees value in the scientific spirit, which emphasizes the importance of seeking truth and acknowledging facts, even when they challenge deeply held beliefs. This spirit, according to Bohm, can be extended to other aspects of life and can help promote honesty and coherence. On the other hand, Bohm acknowledges the importance of spirituality, which involves recognizing the subtle and ungraspable aspects of life, including meaning, significance, and purpose. He argues that without these spiritual dimensions, life may become meaningless and incoherent. Bohm suggests that modern physics, particularly the insights from quantum theory, offers a way to bridge the gap between science and spirituality. He contends that these scientific discoveries imply a deep interconnectedness and interrelatedness among all aspects of reality, which resonates with the spiritual idea of unity and oneness. David Bohm describes spirit as a subtle, life-giving essence or an invisible force that moves everything from within. It is not something that can be held or seen directly. He relates spirit to meaning, emphasizing its role in giving significance, value, and purpose to life. In ancient cultures, Bohm notes, science and spirituality were not separated. People saw spirit in everything, and organized religions integrated spiritual needs with societal needs. However, as technology and science developed, they diverged from religion, resulting in a mechanistic view of the universe. Modern science often adopts a mechanistic worldview, viewing the universe as a giant machine. According to Bohm, this perspective leads to the loss of spirituality in scientific understanding, creating a void that can contribute to meaningless in society. Bohm argues that modern physics, particularly relativity and quantum theory, suggest a non-mechanistic worldview. These theories imply that everything is internally related to everything else, emphasizing a sense of interconnectedness and non-mechanical relationships. Bohm suggests that science, art, and spirituality are essential components of culture. He believes that a coherent culture must integrate these elements. Art, in particular, focuses on creating coherent wholes, and this artistic spirit can extend to science, fostering a more holistic understanding of the world. Art, in particular, focuses on creating coherent wholes, and this artistic spirit can extend to science, fostering a more holistic understanding of the world. He also proposes that dialogue, where individuals suspend personal opinions and aim to understand others' viewpoints, is crucial for creating a coherent culture. Dialogue allows for the free flow of meaning, leading to shared values and a common purpose. That's why meeting with modern spiritual figures was an important part of Bohm's life. The Dalai Lama considered him his science guru. However, it was the encounters with philosopher and spiritual teacher Jiddu Krishnamurti that shaped a great deal of Bohm's philosophical view. Jiddu Krishnamurti was an influential Indian philosopher and spiritual teacher. His teachings emphasized self-awareness, freedom from conditioning, and a holistic understanding of human consciousness. Bohm became aware of Krishnamurti's teachings in the late 1950s, and they had a profound impact on his philosophical thinking. Krishnamurti's insistence that all relationships must be viewed holistically resonated with Bohm's belief in the interconnectedness of the universe at the atomic level. Bohm engaged in dialogues and discussions with Krishnamurti, exploring the nature of thought, the limitations of language, and the interconnectedness of the human mind. These dialogues influenced both of their philosophical outlooks. These dialogues were published in a book called The Ending of Time, which has become a classic of spiritual literature. Bohm and Krishnamurti's collaboration was significant because it showed there shouldn't be a conflict between science and spirituality. In fact, they believed that the two fields are complementary and mutually enriching. Bohm's work on quantum mechanics led him to conclude that the universe is not a mechanistic machine, but rather an interconnected and dynamic whole. This view is consistent with the spiritual teachings about the unity of being, which means there is a fundamental unity and oneness at the core of all existence, and everything in the universe is a manifestation of this one divine reality. Bohm and Krishnamurti's work also has important implications for our understanding of ourselves. They showed that the human mind is not a separate entity, but rather an extension of the universal consciousness. This means that we are all interconnected and interdependent. This realization has a profound impact on our relationships with ourselves and others. So, what do you personally think of bridging the gap between science and spirituality? How do you reconcile your spiritual beliefs with the discoveries of modern science? Let us know. And subscribe to the channel for more videos about interesting spiritual figures and other interesting topics.